think it's happening, Marius? Do you think it's because people are still in February period thinking I can get this much, or what do you think it's why it's happening?
Yeah, sadly, some sellers they live in an let's say in a parallel world. I said they saw some neighbors sold their house in January, February 2022 for a certain amount of money, and they have in their heads that their property, which was similar with the other property sold for for that amount, but now the prices are, like, as I said, about 20, 25, even 30% down from that point. So they are still thinking that they can sell that, and this is it's deadly.
It's deadly
because they don't get it. And what they do is basically they are hurting themselves. If you ask, like 10 different people that they don't have a clue about real estate, everyone has a different opinion. So when they listen to all these opinions, then it's much harder to listen to me, which I'm a professional. So it's much more difficult to make a decision. But slowly, I teach them, I coach them somehow, and they understand what's going on really. Okay. And then if they want to make a deal, they have to to follow my advices at least, and then to sell it. Yeah. So this is what's going on now, and I want to point out other pitfalls, let's say, from what happened in the last 5 or 6 months. So I have a case, for example, I sold a house for a very good price in April 2022. I was in Ajax. I sold it for 1.875. I put it like 388, and I sold it 500,000 more, over the listing price. Everything went well. The closing was sometimes in August. Okay. So from April to August, the market went down probably, 10-15%. Another 10-15 went from February to April, so was in steep decline. And then what happened was the buyer for that house got an appraisal for just 1.65. So basically 225,000 lower than the selling price. The buyer was in a good faith, and he was asking my client, if he's willing to, accept 1.725 because they did some private loan for another 75,000. So for 1.65, they got 1.725, but it was still another 150,000, between what they have and what they pay for. But the guys, they were very, they really wanted to make the deal and to do the deal. But my clients didn't want to. They said, oh, you know what, I don't want to. I proposed basically just to help the sale to go through. I said to my clients, please, consider a seller take back for 150,000. You just choose the mortgage rate, like a secondary mortgage for their home. I said you can choose the rate and stuff like that. And but my client didn't. Was stubborn. He didn't want to. He wanted exactly 1.875, in their hands, which didn't happen. Yeah. And then suddenly the deal fell through. So basically, the buyer lost the deposit, about 90K.
90K.
And then 90K, was a deposit. So that one was, so he lost the deposit. My client kept his house, and it was a sad situation. Because I told my client, I said, because you didn't accept 1.725 plus the 150, you being a second mortgagee on that home, basically you don't get, in my opinion, you don't get that price anymore, maybe in about 4 or 5 years.
So what do you think is happening, Marius? Do you think it's because people are still in February period thinking I can get this much, or what do you think why it's happening?
Yeah, sadly, some sellers they live in an let's say in in a parallel world. I said they saw some neighbors sold their house in January, February 2022 for a certain amount of money, and they have in their heads that their property, which was similar with the other property sold for for that amount. But now the prices are, like, as I said, about 20, 25, even 30% down from that point. So they are still thinking that they can sell that, and this is it's deadly. Because they don't get it. And what they do is basically they are hurting themselves, because if the property is staying for a much longer period of time on the market, then that property becomes stigmatized.
Exactly. People are like, why this property is not
selling? Didn't sell in
What's
4 months.
Like hidden, like, but it's nothing wrong.
It's nothing wrong. It's just the price.
It's just the price.
And then the potential buyers then they believe, oh, something happened at the house. Maybe it was a homicide or a suicide, or it's a haunted house, or has structural problems and stuff like that. But there's nothing like that. It's a beautiful home, but because the sellers, they are not reasonable to adjust their thinking based on today's market values, and then they stay for a long time. And I think a guilt is even the listing agents, because they are not straightforward.
Yes,
because they are afraid they can lose the listing, because in my opinion that listing is not a listing, because you cannot sell it as a listing agent, and you lose just your time. And then you didn't tell the truth, because you didn't you're afraid, as I said, that you lose the listing. So you're not straightforward with your clients, and they believe that they can achieve the prices that they used to be on January, February.
Absolutely,
but it's not possible that one anymore. So you have just to be reasonable. You have to listen to to a professional.
Absolutely. Go to the source, not
listen to cousins, brothers,
which
mothers,
they have great
family. I respect that.
Exactly. They're coming with, they want to help.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily can help. That's the problem.
If they listen to other person, then a real professional who gives them numbers. So all the time I give them numbers. So this is the numbers they don't lie. So I said, you see, the similar property like yours sold is not 1.7 anymore. It's 1.4. I can do better if you listen to my advices to upgrade something. We can sell for 1.5, 1.55, but you cannot go to 1.7 anymore. So this is
setting realistic expectations. Probably. So what I'm hearing is investment in the property a little bit. It's working actually, and probably more than ever, because people are more used to see nice property now, right? So when you're hunting for a house, you're seeing nice houses. So now people are not going back for like, oh, I can do the renovations. They're expecting now, when they walk into the house, it's a nice house with a nice new tiles maybe on the floor. And I know, because my husband and I, we sold the house, and oh my God, without your advice, probably we will like have much less. So this
is the case for everyone. So,
and it's proven. That's the other thing. It's proven, and because you work for how many years already?
17 years.
17 years. So it's proven. So all your advices are based on your experience. It's not like guessing. I'm guessing this or I'm guessing that. And what I also admire about you, you are adapting so quickly, because even in the winter time, remember when you had to adapt for so many showings, right? I remember your phone was like ringing like crazy, or messages or everything, and then you had to manage and coordinate all the showings and the views, and that's crazy. So you had to adapt for whatever was like last year, just a few showings, to how many? What was the maximum showings you have, if you can remember? I don't know if you can remember any.
I used to have over 240 showings for 1 week for a property. For 1 week for a property.
That's amazing.
But
this is crazy.
The average 150, 160 per week. So we had that amount of showings. Even today I can do that, but some clients sometimes they're not 100% sure. So if they're not sure about this technique anymore, so I don't want to put them in stress. So then I go with a normal technique that put a little bit higher than market value, and then we have some room for negotiation.
And you want people who are serious about like buying, not just visitors, like number of showings. So, and again, even if we are repeating, if people are selling for less than, let's say, February, March, because I'm thinking like January, February, March are like the peaks. If they're buying a house, they're buying for less than January, February, March. So even though we are repeating, people, they have to hear that. You're taking this money because you want to buy another property.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you want to move out from Canada. But I don't think it's the case now anymore. It was a little bit more beginning of the year, right?
So the reason, because this year and last year, they were basically the best 2 years of my career, and was for unfortunate situations, because was you know, the COVID situation, and was a mandatory vaccination. Some of my, you know, clients didn't want to do that, so basically what they did, they just called me to sell their homes, and after that, after selling their homes, they stay for another 1 or 2 months in rent, and then they left Canada. So it's unfortunate because they are not here anymore, and they are all over the globe. But this was the situation.
It was.
And was very painful.
Are you still seeing this situation? People are selling their properties just to move out of
let's say this trend stopped probably in August, September this year. So I didn't have any other cases like that. But you know, mostly the people, they wanted to sell and to move out, or they wanted to sell and to you know, they were usually retirees. They want to downsize and they want to buy a smaller home, and then they have some amount of money in their account to, you know, to have a nice retirement, let's say.